Hi, I'm Alaska Reid, and you're listening to Songminer. Today's episode is with Lecx Stacy. Lecx is an artist and a producer based out in LA, and we speak about his song Are We Awake, which is off his latest EP called A Glint in the Holocene. It just so happens that Lecx and I have actually played together, and I remember telling the story about Lecx coming into my consciousness. I told this story on stage, and I think it confused everybody, but anyway, I was in a tour van somewhere near Oklahoma City with this band that I was supporting, and their drummer, he was on Instagram and he showed me this video. He's like, oh, this is so crazy. This person, I wonder who they are. Like, look at it. And he showed me this video, and I had recognized that it was Lecx Stacy because Lecx was someone I'd been hearing about, but I hadn't actually taken the time to check out his stuff. So the drummer is showing me this video, and he's like, I wonder where he's from. And I was like, that's Lecx Stacy. Lecx is in LA. And that sort of snowballed, and I got in touch, and he's a friend now and great person, and opened my show in LA, and it was a really crazy set. And I think if any of y'all have a chance to see him live in the new year, you totally should. It's full of raw energy, and it's just fucking cool, to be honest. It's really cool. Coming to the end of the year, I would like to thank everybody that has listened to Songminer. I have to say there are some pretty good episodes that will be coming up, either in January or, if I'm feeling wild, around Christmas, but who knows? Who knows? I just thought maybe people would need a break from the festivities. They need to walk around that frozen lake and listen to Alaska Reid chat shit about songs. But now the time has come to listen to the life of Lecx. Here's our conversation. Do you want to start off talking about your musical history and kind of walk me through how you got to where you are now?
Yeah. So, if I were to start with my, music history and upbringing, I feel like I would have to go all the way back to elementary school.
Do it.
Being in third grade. So, I grew up in a 5 to 7 person household. It kind of fluctuated. And I was surrounded by, a really wide array of music at all times. My dad would be listening to country, like John Denver, and, old Filipino folk music. And then my mom would be weirdly listening to techno and Alice DJ and stuff like that. And then I have 2 older brothers who are both 10 years older than me. And so they'd be listening to hip hop, rap, and downloading mixtapes every other day. So that culmination, that has led me to be so much more open-minded and my influences and tastes. All while they were all playing that type of music and introducing to me all that kind of sounds, I was kind of discovering emo music on my own, My Chemical Romance and Linkin Park.
Okay.
And being an angsty little 12, 13-year-old all throughout elementary school and the middle school. Yeah, I always had this weird aspiration of being in a pop punk band or something like that. But I never had the friends to share that aspiration with. So once I was in high school and I discovered, I started producing in middle school. So once I started producing music, I realized that I didn't need band members at the time. I was I could just create the songs that I want to on my own. So by the time I was in high school, I was recording guitar loop stuff and really shittily doing drums, trying to make it sound as real as possible, but it all sounded really bad. Not real and uncanny type of thing. Because at first I was just making beats for people. Sorry, this is a really jumbled history of
This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Keep going.
Yeah. At first I was doing type beats on YouTube, those Drake type beat, Kendrick Lamar type beat, and doing that whole thing. And once I realized that I was able to even sing or rap or whatever, was once I started to toss in all the influences all into one thing, and it didn't need to just be a hip hop beat or like a pop punk song, I kind of just like forced the two together. And yeah, I was like, because I was thinking about the song "Are We Awake" and how many like all the different. I was trying to like pinpoint all the influences I have on that song, because it all kind of ranges from like there's like moments of like noise, there's moments of like ambient influences.
I hear it.
Yeah.
And a heaviness. There's a heaviness, but then there's a kind of tender, very melodic. I think I've said once, I asked you if it was okay promoting a show, if I could call you like, what did I say? Spooky folk music?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And that like accurately depicts, I guess, the direction I guess I'm going in with my music now. Folk, ambient, noise, and hardcore are like my kind of 4 pillars of, I don't know, influence in a lot of my music. And every EP I try to like hit all of those, whether it's a weird equation of all 4 of them or just 1 or 2. Yeah.
I know what you're saying about your references, but I really just think of it as your sound. And I also really think of the set that you did that I saw, and just watching that, it just makes so much sense in my head. Like I really see it. So you kind of, I guess, metabolized all those different things and made it into just your signature sound, which is really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I feel like even like the shows that I've done post the show that we did, like I've been adding more and more elements of like ambient stuff into it, both ambient and hardcore like elements, and kind of looking at each of my sets as like performance art at this point and less of like a music set. Weirdly, I never thought I'd go that direction, but yeah, because like I think I told you before how like every set I'm doing something different and trying to make it this whole experience that's like both new for me and for people in the audience watching. I don't know how that's gonna go if I ever go on tour, if I'm gonna do a different set each night, but probably not. But
I think it's cool though. I mean, one of the things that I really like about my favorite artists live is that they are completely unpredictable in a way as an audience member. Like I remember seeing actually the Replacements at the Palladium ages ago. I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. And I just never knew what Paul Westerberg was going to do. And I was so riveted for the entire show, not only because I'm obviously a massive fan, but because it just had this unpredictable element to it, and that really gripped me because it was like I was already so familiar with a lot of the songs, and it was kind of taking it to the next level, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's kind of like a weird thing that I'm doing to myself. Half of my set, I've probably been performing it for the past like 3 years, probably since like early 2021. And so a lot of the songs like I just know it like the back of my hand type of thing. And so I'm testing myself and like doing weird things to like make myself make a moment weirdly.
Yeah.
And make it like a whole new experience, just because I want to excite myself within it all too. Yeah, so that's like a goal of mine every show, is like challenge myself to do something that's cooler than the last show, but like unpredictable. And the only way to do that is to like, it has to like legitimately be unpredictable for myself. I'm weirdly making my job harder, but it's fun.
You're feeling it.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking back and thinking about your musical history, what is it that you think you initially fell in love with, hearing all those different things across your house? Your dad's John Denver, your mom's techno, your brother's stuff. Do you think it was writing?
I think so. When I was a kid, none of that like even piqued my interest when I was a kid. I didn't metabolize the sort of influence until way later in life. Like I was kind of one of those people, because like, so my dad listened to a lot of like folk and country, and as a kid, like I hated it. Like I wanted to just rebel against it. I was listening to like angsty emo stuff. I was kind of a purist, like elitist within that, like that mindset of like only listening to emo, even like hip hop to an extent. Like I didn't like truly listen to rap and hip hop until like middle school. That was another thing that I was, fully just focused on emo and rock. Yeah, as I got older, I started to fall in love more into like country and folk a lot more, because then I saw like the through line between certain like emotions and like storytelling between like a My Chemical Romance song or something like a John Denver song. I mean, obviously it's way different like subject matter, but I guess for me, the way that like storytelling is involved in a lot of folk music also is involved in a lot of emo songs and just like pure emotion, saying things how they are. And then so that's like that covers like those two genres. And then as I got older, the thought of like pushing like the limits of how music can sound is where kind of like the techno stuff that my mom was listening to kind of pushed me towards. Yeah, thinking of things beyond just like a guitar and bass and drums, and like the weird things that you could do to manipulate all of that into something that sounds borderline like noise, and then adding all those elements. And yeah, does that kind of answer?
No, that makes sense, especially on the demo, because I'll play it right here. You're starting tender, I'll wait for you always. And whatever that crazy sound is, like, kind of breaking the limits, which, I really understand that now. I guess that's the producer in you.
Yeah. So like, I guess like all these influences all like kind of like attack a different part of my brain. Because like one thing that I also like realized about the demo was that I started that demo, I think it was like fall of 2021. And so for like months, maybe even like a year, I had just that demo where it's just a lot of weird syllables, vaguely saying like I'll wait type of thing. And I was like kind of thinking about my like artist process within all that and why it takes so long between the demo as a producer and then like the actual song being written as an artist for myself. Is I realize I feel like I have like a faster thinking process as a producer. I just know how I want things to sound. Yeah, I think really fast in that sense, but then as an artist, when I'm like trying to write lyrics, I think very slow. And there are a lot of times where like I'll produce a demo and it almost feels a little witchy because I'm like thinking of myself like 6 months to like a year from now writing a demo, or not even thinking, but like subconsciously like creating this palette for like future me to end up like writing and like expressing myself.
I see.
On top of, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like a lot of my songs like work that way, where like I create this demo pretty much just like an instrumental where I'm really passionate about it, but I just don't know what to even say on it. I'm like too scared to say the wrong thing on it and like ruin the song. And most of the time, yeah, it takes me like 6 to like 12 months to like finally actually like live through something that makes sense enough for me to write about onto it. It's weird.
So you're relaxed then. You're pretty relaxed about it. It sounds almost like you're spiritual in that you're like, when the time is right, I will finish this. I will have the lyrics.
Yeah, weirdly, yeah. I've never been bogged down by like I have a deadline for this project, or like these 3 songs are supposed to be done by this month. I've never imposed that on myself. So yeah, that probably helps me actually finish songs and not stress too much.
Yeah.
Because then, yeah, like I'll make a shitty little like acoustic thing in January. I won't even have like an actual song until December. And
Does the production bother you? Like if you make a bold move with the production on your demo, on your template, does it bother you for the writing, or do you just not take it seriously? Because basically, I feel really uncomfortable entwining writing and producing personally for my stuff because I just can't make a bold production move early on in my writing process because I get distracted or it disturbs me or I feel like it tarnishes something about my original idea. So I kind of have to wait till it's done and then make a statement with production. But it's interesting because you don't seem to have that problem.
one way I can relate to that is if there's like a song where like I know I want really good drums on or something, because like I'm not a drummer, that'll impede me on like continuing to write to the song because like I know whatever verse section is supposed to have like these really cool drums, and then my ability is not there yet. And so yeah, but then I also like, yeah, I don't stress it though. Like I like I'll, you know, send it to who, like my homie Aeon to like do their drums on it, and I let that live, and I focus on like I'm able to focus on something else for a little bit. And I'm always working on like the entire project at once too, by the
That's
way. Like
crazy.
I'm like I try not to do like I've never done song by song or like anything like that. Like my routine so far has been like I'll come up with the EP title or album title. I'll come up with like a mission statement for it, and then tell myself, all right, once I get to like 6 to 8 tracks, that and if they all feel right and there's nothing missing, then the project's done. And then I just I just go for like, yeah, go straight into it knowing that all right, 6 to 8 tracks. Maybe one day I'll work on like the intro thing, or one day I'll work on this other track that's supposed to be this big and massive thing. And then that's how I and I usually emerge from that. Like it's weird, like I'll like usually go into the writing process, like truly into the writing process, like in the fall, and then by the springtime I'm usually out of the cave.
Wait, are you saying always in the autumn you're going into the writing process, or are you just giving that as an example? I don't
No,
know.
like always I'll be like working on stuff vaguely throughout the year, but I always like tell myself this month, like this is the month where I'm like, all right, I'm locking myself in my apartment, in my studio. I'm not like forcing myself to make music, but it's just I don't know, maybe it's something about when the weather feels a little more moody, I just naturally go into hermit mode.
So
and
you're
then-
responding to the seasons a bit.
yeah, I think it's my cycle. It's my so
I was actually going to ask you what external factors influence your process or your songwriting. So I guess we can start by saying seasons changing.
seasons. A lot of my music revolves around like relationships and like friendships, both romantic and just like platonic friendships. And so that's like an external factor that always like works its way into my music, I guess, obviously, because it's just life. And then like media, whether it's like movies or with the last project, I was playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2. So a lot of country western, like just Wild West, like I imagined for that project, like my ideal scenery that paired with it
Okay.
was like this empty, desolate desert, and Wild West, like on a horse kind of thing, really dehydrated, and just like chugging on, trying to survive. That was kind of like the world that I was trying to like depict with that project. Yeah, like all the weird, like noisy drums on Are We Awake? I don't know, for me those are supposed to symbolize just like being in like a really fucked up like sandstorm, and just really overwhelmed, being taken over by like dust or something. Yeah.
Have you seen Hidalgo?
No. Is that something is that a movie?
I have no idea how it's aged. Yeah, it's a movie. It was a big deal for me when I was younger, but it has Viggo Mortensen in it. And
Okay.
I think it's about, from what I recall, it's about his relationship with a horse. I think the horse's name is Hidalgo. But the thing that I took away from the movie was this insane sandstorm scene. So I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta watch it then.
I had a lot of fear involving that scene, but I was also fascinated with it. So
Yeah.
So when you're talking about relationships that you're inspired by, are you writing about those literally, or are you sort of cherry picking and obscuring it? Like, have you ever had that thing where a friend or an ex has been like, hey, that song's about me?
No, thankfully not. But I'm sure they know. Like, they've never asked me, but...
Do you ever feel scared?
To an extent. I'm kind of in the middle of like, I try to obscure things, but also I think my like songwriting style is I like being pretty forward, or like I just like saying things fairly straight up. And so there's no way like any of these friends who I've fallen out with or like exes, like there's no, like they definitely know what's about them. It's just, I guess, I just don't. No, I've never had like that dreadful conversation where someone's like, "Is this about me?" I don't know how I would react to that. I actually don't know I don't know what I'd say, but yeah, I like being pretty honest in my music because like I'm not very. I don't like being super open in general on like social media or like being too available. And I like having my music being like my way of both the music and like whatever art that's like paired with it, whether it like a little booklet thing. I like being very honest in any sort of art form, having people like learn about me through that rather than me having to like talk about it or go on social media saying a bunch of things. It just feels weird.
That makes sense. Okay, so let me get this straight here. You typically will start in the autumn with some mood tracks, production, music, and you let that rest. You marinate with that. When do the lyrics come in? When does the theme of the song come in? Do you know that when you're creating the mood track, or do you kind of wait for that to percolate?
So I almost always have at least like the EP title before like
that's
that
crazy.
Writing.
That's crazy.
Because it helps control like the parameters, if that makes sense, of what the world is. So like before even like the fall even comes around, usually a phrase will like pop into my head, and then I'm like, that's it. And then I go into the writing process fully focused on that phrase or whatever. Like I already have my title for next year's EP that I had that title since February, but I wasn't even like I wasn't working on that project yet. Like now is the time where I'm actually working on it. And then like last project I had that title. Yeah. I think I came up with last project's title when I was out. I think it was in July of 20 or I don't know, whatever time frame when I was like when I was shooting my Haunted Be Thy music video. I came up with the title like right after we shot that video, and then went straight into, and then the following fall I had that phrase already, and then and then went into like the writing mode. So I always have the EP title name and then like a paragraph that's like what I have to have this like mission statement, or else I'm going in too blind and I don't know which way to go. So like when I have like the mission statement too, like that's also a crucial part of my process. Title, mission statement.
Can I ask you to summarize your mission statement, or give me a bit of it from A Glint in the Holocene?
Yeah, so that one, the life of that mission statement is actually wild. I went into like the writing process with like the mission statement being kind of forming this like kind of affirmation of a project, reminding myself to like be very present and happy with what's currently happening in my life in that present moment. I was going through a lot of stuff and not very hopeful about life. And so, yeah, like that, my mission statement was like creating this project that was supposed to be affirmational, if that's a word. And remind myself that the glint in the Holocene is like this shining moment in life, this like right here, right now. That's the glint is in this timeline. But that kind of took a weird turn as I was like in the writing process, because external factors, relationships, like a lot of things were ending in my life. Went through like a breakup, so that made its way into like itself into the project, and like my relationship to like my career as an artist started to, like my outlook as of being an artist kind of like started to shift. And so the that initial mission statement of it being about this beautiful moment in time kind of turned into like a sour kind of outlook, and it being like the moment in time was like things ending. And yeah. That was like the mission statement I went into the project with, and then yeah, kind of came out of the project with a whole different, like it just on its own kind of like molded into something else, which I'm not mad at. It just, like I said, I like being very honest and like transparent with my artwork. And so yeah, I guess that's a testament to my carefree sort of approach with like creating music and art, was like I let it kind of take its own shape once I like had this initial aim or like target. Yeah.
No, it's just interesting because it sounds like you have a lot of trust in yourself and in the process, which is funny because I feel like sometimes people struggle with that, artists struggle with that. And part of their process is getting themselves to, you know, have trust in what's happening. And it just sounds like you always are kind of trusting, which is really crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of why I'm so like trusting of my process and like my instincts within like my art is half of my like life is being a producer and like for other people's art. And I don't know, maybe it's this like weird, when I'm producing for other people, like I have to put my trust into someone else, and like I like it relieves my responsibilities to an extent. Like I'm just making something that I know this other person wants to create, and then I'm letting them like kind of take the steering wheel wherever it needs to go. Like I'm very, very like hands off to an extent. Like I'll, you know, do what I think sounds cool, but everything has to be something that they want, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so when I'm working on my music, I guess it's so different. I approach my own music so different from when I'm like working with other people, that it's like my time to like be fully myself, and like I don't have to listen to any other person's input. And yeah, I guess I guess maybe it's because I see like both sides of the process, that when I'm in my own world, I'm like fully in my own world. I don't care what anyone says about the direction or like what I'm saying in the songs or anything like that. And yeah, it like pushes me to be more trusting of my own process.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you know when something is right? Do you have like a buzz, or I don't know. It's a hard thing to put into words, but I'm just wondering if you have words for it.
Yeah, I guess it's weird. I think I feel like I don't. It's more, yeah, it's definitely like a feeling, like an instinct. I'd never know how to communicate that, because yeah. It's really complex. Like once I finish a project, it's just something that it's so corny.
No,
but yeah,
it's
something I
not.
just feel. Yeah.
No, it's good, but you hear that voice, because sometimes I wondered too if, you know, myself included, if you hear that voice and you don't listen. It just sounds like you listen a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you, going back to I'll Wait Always / Are We Awake?
Yeah.
What is the song about, if you don't mind me asking?
So when I first made the demo, like I thought it was gonna be very love song kind of vibes, like waiting for someone kind of thing. But that didn't make sense in my life in any way at that point. And so um, once I had my mission statement, things started to like make more sense. Um, and this Are We Awake is very self-reflective and it's like intention with the lyrics. Like I said, like I was going through a lot of life changes at the time. So I was really just the broad question of are we awake kind of just like translates to like, am I really like happy with where I'm at? Or like, am I really like doing what I want to do? Am I surrounded by the people that, I truly want to be surrounded by? And so, yeah, it was just I was writing from a very like existential, self-reflective kind of lens.
Do you find writing therapeutic?
I do. Yeah, it's definitely therapeutic and like allows me to get feelings like communicated without realizing. I guess that's actually, yeah. You just made me like unpack something I just realized. Yeah.
What did I make you unpack?
Because I realized I'm not that good at like communicating directly with like close with close friends and partners. And so music always ends up being like my weird, like here's what I was trying to say. For some reason I'm able to like get my emotions across, communicated better like through music. And so it is therapeutic. It is a blessing and a curse because it allows me to make very honest music, but it's a curse because like I can't just communicate it like a normal person. I have to do it through a song or a project. But yeah.
Outside of the seasons changing, what gets you in the mood for writing? Like if you're experiencing writer's block, is there something in particular you do? Do you read something, watch something, listen to something?
So for last project, for a Glint in the Holocene and this project, or a current project that I'm working on right now, for some reason both have been video games. So last project I said was Red Dead, and this project, or like this coming project that I'm working on, I've been playing Baldur's Gate a lot. And that's becoming like a big influence and like direction. Like it kind of helped form the mission statement for this next project. I realized like in my life I'm a very like neutral person, as we've covered, and like carefree about certain things, and which has led me to be very indecisive. And that's one thing about Baldur's Gate. You got to be very decisive. You got to know that one choice and action leads to consequences. And that's what I'm learning right now in life. And that's going to make its way into the music. And a lot of exploration of that is going to be involved.
You seem really decisive in your music, though, in your process and when you work with other people. So it's interesting that you don't think of yourself as that.
Right. I think in everywhere outside of music and art, I'm a very indecisive person, and I'm trying to learn to be decisive. What I want is what I want type of thing, and not let external relationships with people or standards or like expectations bog me down to like what to do. And so that's a theme in my life this year for some reason, and is a theme in Baldur's Gate. So yeah.
So I think I asked you, and I can't remember because it was a while ago, but I asked you I think it was on Instagram, you were doing a question thing, and I said, what do you picture visually with this project?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Was that because of Baldur's Gate? Because you said Middle Earth.
A little bit, but also
for
just
Asian
like
people, which was a really good answer and also completely unexpected because I had no idea what you were going to say, but I know that you're a very visual person because of all your video stuff.
Yeah, that answer was like half a joke, but half serious. Like it was just Asian people, meaning me, and in like this immersive fantasy world. Because with the last project, it was less fantasy and more Wild West. Like I did a road trip through like Arizona, and I wanted to go like all the way to New Mexico, but I didn't have the time. The vast open horizon of just deserted, small towns type of thing was the world of last project. Because yeah, I guess it kind of changes every project. I'm realizing too. The project before that was the Pacific Northwest, greenery, waterfalls, and like beautiful pine trees. And then the Clinton Holocene was like desert. And the next project is looking more Middle Earth, more I don't know, maybe sci-fi ish, maybe I don't know. Because my intention with last project was the idea of death. Whatever character that I was embodying in last project technically has died. And so this next project, I'm exploring it. I don't know if it's like an afterlife thing or something just symbolic of post-life stuff.
Why do you say that? Do you mean that in a literal sense, as in you're not going to return to that character? Walk me through that more, because I think it's cool, but also it's very cryptic.
On the Held My Gaze EP, it's kind of on a literal sword in the stone. It's like the beginning of this hero's quest. The cover is me gazing down at this sword to start this adventure. And then last project, Glint in the Holocene, a lot of things in my life that was like brand new when I was working on Held My Gaze had been coming kind of to a downfall, whether it's like relationships and career mindset stuff, kind of vague, but symbolically like the spirit that I had in like 2021 kind of died in a way. So yeah, like the character of the music has symbolically kind of like very cryptic, but yeah, died in a way. And so the next project is kind of like accepting and like growing from that. I guess dying is such a cryptic, vague way to say it. I guess it's more of like understanding things, and like a lot of things in life aren't understanding like impermanence, I guess. Yeah, also vague, but
No. I get where you're coming from. It's making sense. It's just cool that you have such a through line through your different, bodies of work. I think that's really cool that you're conscious of that. Like you want stuff to be a continuation, but a level up, or, a portal into something else.
Yeah. So I actually, this next EP that I'm trying to put out next year is technically would be like the third of like the trilogy. So these three EPs would be like this this comprehensive body of work that would be put together, because the first EP was beginning of the hero's adventure. Glint and Holocene was the death of that hero, and this next EP is like the exploration of that impermanence of life.
That's so cool.
And then yeah, it would have this cool packaging, and I have a bunch of plans for that, which yeah, people will see eventually. It's pretty early, but yeah.
How has your writing process evolved from the first EP to the second to what you're writing right now?
So weirdly, I don't think it really changed much, like from like a technical standpoint. Even that first EP, like I didn't really like work on it until I had like the name, knowing what it was gonna be about. But it's all kind of evolved sound wise is definitely like where like the most of the evolution, I guess, to at least like from my perspective, seeing it is it's gotten a lot slower the way I'm seeing it too. Like the first EP, I wanted to make a lot of harder songs, and I wanted to kind of scream more. And then last project, I wanted to start slowing that down a bit, not rely too much on like the theatrics of just like being high energy. And then this next project weirdly is like even more slowed down and wanting and being more raw, wanting things to be more like just like clear and like in your face emotionally. So yeah, that's kind of how it's evolved these last few projects. Not very technical, just more intention. It's evolved a lot in my intentions.
What is your primary instrument that you write on? Because I know that you're very production based. So obviously maybe it's going into the computer, opening up a Logic session. I don't know. But to me, from seeing your set especially, I really imagine that guitar is like that first mode of communication.
Yeah, most of the time it's been like just coming up with a riff on probably some like weird alternate tuning.
I hear it.
And yep. And then so like my process when it comes to like actually like writing the lyrics, because like I'll come up with the riff, do a bunch of weird vocal humming syllable things, and then a lot of the actual writing happens when I'm like I'll write the riff and then go on like a really long walk and just listen to my weird vocalizing syllable stuff, and then just jotting down every phrase that like I can hear out of those weird experimentations, and then eventually like at the end of the day sitting down and just using whatever, almost like a found poem, just like all these like random like phrases that just popped up into my head with those syllables and melody until it makes something that makes sense, and then like obviously polishing that up into like something that's cohesive and like saying something that I want to say. But yeah, I guess that's like another form of how it's all just very like instinctive writing. I'm just, the melody that I end up saying in that first demo is typically the melody that I end up using in like the final. It's just made with different words and stuff like that.
Have you heard of this band called Black Braid?
I don't think so. Black Braid.
I'm afraid to categorize their genre because I feel like I don't know the intricacies of the hardcore heavy metal scene, but I think you dig it because they have that kind of combo of textures going where there's a soft, interesting kind of folky element or something organic, and then there's like like
yeah. Have you heard of Panopticon?
I have, but it's so weird. I feel like my dad listens to them, but I couldn't
Really?
name you a song, because I know that name, and my dad's really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so like it's mainly one dude, but he's, I guess, is considered folk, black metal, bluegrass. So I don't know what the actual term would be, but it's like a mix of all that. And so like there will be like a song where it's blast beats, really like aggressive stuff, and then like a slide guitar and banjo over that.
So cool.
And so yeah, that's been like that. Like honestly, like his music is like a big influence as to why I try to put banjo over heavy noise. Is like his intention of putting like bluegrass and black metal together.
Well, thank you for chatting with me about everything. I'm very excited to see Middle Earth, but I guess I won't be able to see that till the spring, right?
Yeah.
That's when your cycle is fulfilled.
It probably won't be till it always ends up being like end of summer release. That's always when it happens, or like at least first single in like July or August. But that's probably when the rollout starts. I always think like 6 months ahead, but yeah.
Sick. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.